What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with some Detroit Lions news. Oh my goodness, I did not expect this, but we got some news. So let's get it started. Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here, and I'm with you. Maybe you thought free agency was going to get a little bit quiet, okay? Things were going to cool down. Maybe a re-signing here and there. Maybe the biggest thing that happens for the Detroit Lions is that they somehow re-sign DJ Chark. But even that, I kind of talked myself into believing it's not going to happen. I slowly got there, and at this point, I was like, I don't think the Lions are going to be getting back DJ Chark. I think it's going to be a situation where the Lions are going to feel good with drafting a receiver. I made sense of it. I understood it, especially with the signings of the Graham Glasgows and, of course, the Emmanuel Mosleys, and when we updated the cap situation. So I was thinking, hey, things are going to get kind of quiet, right? No. Sunday night. It's always the weird times, right? It's 9 o'clock on Sunday night. You're thinking, hey, people are going to bed. All right, maybe Monday something pops off. No. Detroit Lions say we don't sleep, man. Things are happening Sunday night. And we got some big news for the Lions. We also have another signing to announce as well that was reported. We'll touch on that one. But the big one is that the Detroit Lions are reportedly signing defensive back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to a one-year, $8 million deal. That is according to Adam Schefter. And yes, you heard the name right. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The guy that we talk about randomly in like other cornerback videos. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. It's not a lie. The Lions are signing that guy. He even put it up on his Twitter. The little gif of like the Lions players dancing, celebrating after a touchdown. He put that up. He's coming to Detroit on a one-year deal. Now, initially, right, so I'm like, okay, I'm calling people. I'm calling Rad. I'm calling Speakeasy. I'm like, hey, what's your thoughts on this whole situation? What's going on, man? I see the news, not expecting this at all. I actually checked my phone to see if anything happened with DJ Chark, and then I see this, and I'm like, I got to call these dudes. They're texting me, so I call them, get their thoughts on it. I'll let them speak their parts on what they feel about this. But my immediate reaction, that's what you're here for. How do I feel about this immediately? And, I may feel differently after thinking on this and getting more information. But my immediate reaction to the situation is, why did this guy only get a one-year deal? Why did this guy that's coming off of 6 interceptions, that's coming off his rookie deal, he's only 25 years old, get a one-year deal? Why is this happening? Well, here's kind of my theory on the situation. So first off, let's give a little background. So potential reason he's only getting a one-year deal. First off, these last 2 years, he's had dealt with injuries. 2021, he had a knee injury, 12 games. This past season, he had a kidney injury, which knocked him out of the Packers game, laying a big hit, which he does. He lays a lot of big hits. Knocked out that game, but he did come back at the end of the season, played the last regular season game against the Giants, played slot, played really well, played in the playoffs, help them get to the Super Bowl. Maybe that's part of the reason. Then we're seeing reports come up there that, hey, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was offered a competitive offer by the Philadelphia Eagles, but he passed on that. I don't know what that means exactly, but he passed on that. And maybe the market wasn't exactly what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was expecting, which would make sense as to why he would sign a one-year deal. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, like everybody coming off the rookie deal, they're looking for that long-term deal with someone that's going to keep him around. We know Philly just brought back Slay, so financially, I don't know their exact situation, but financially, they might not have the most space to bring a guy like this back, but the market maybe wasn't there. It seems like it wasn't necessarily there for Johnson, maybe because of the injuries, maybe because he's a little bit of tweener. If you go back to before he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles this past season with the New Orleans Saints, again, he's a 4th-round pick, so he didn't have a 5th-year option. He was, I guess you could say, sitting out early in some of the early workouts heading into the season, sitting out of those, wanting a new contract from New Orleans. So New Orleans ultimately traded him away. They traded him away for 2 day 3 picks. They gave a 7th-round pick in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for a 5th-round pick and 2 6th-round picks. So they traded the guy away to Philadelphia. This past year, he steps in basically as a starter at free safety for them, plays pretty well. And then at the last game of the season, as we said, he moved to the slot cornerback position because that's what he's been. With New Orleans in 2021, he played more of the slot cornerback role for New Orleans, whether that was 2020 when a guy like Aaron Glenn and some of our coaching staff was there, or also you go back to this 2021, he played more of a slot cornerback role for the New Orleans Saints. Then this past year goes to Philly, plays more of a safety role. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he wanted to get paid. And if you're talking about a guy that has extreme confidence in himself, that thinks he's the best player on the field, I mean, we talked about some of those things with Jalen Ramsey. That's definitely the case here with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He has said a lot of similar things like, hey, I'm the best safety in the league. He fought to get himself back out there after an injury because he wanted to lock up that 1 seed with Philly. But he feels like he's the best safety out there. He's like, look, I missed 6 weeks or whatever it was, 5-6 weeks, and I'm still leading the league in interception. For the first time being really moved there to be that position in the last few years, he put on 6 interceptions. And now Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is signing a one-year deal with us. So my theory on this whole situation is that long-term deal, that extension wasn't being offered to him, maybe because of some of the injuries, maybe because of him winning the big deal. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think, is sitting back. This is my theory on it. And he's saying, okay, The Detroit Lions, in the words of Speakeasy, the way he kind of told me his thoughts on this situation, I'll let him speak for himself, but when we were talking was, maybe this is just something that for the Lions it was too good to pass up, because this didn't feel like something the Lions would have to do. They just signed Cam Sutton. They got Emmanuel Mosley. This wasn't like something top of my needs. Like the Lions got to find a guy that can play nickel, but also play the safety position or slot and safety position. The Lions got to go find that. So my thoughts from the Lions perspective is you're talking about a guy here in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that is extremely talented. He has connections with this Lions coaching staff, and the Lions are sitting there like, okay, no one wants to give you that big deal. The Lions are sitting there and like, this is just too good to pass up. This guy's too talented. We know what he's good at. Our coaching staff has worked with him. They really like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They bring him up all the time. He's a physical player. He's big. He can sit in the slot. He's got mirror ability as a coverage player. We'll take a shot on you. We'll bring it back. We'll let you prove yourself this season. You're going to get an opportunity. You feel like you're the best player. You're going to have a chance in a secondary that's got a lot of new pieces. And actually, if you think about it, pretty much everybody at the cornerback position has 1 year left on their deal. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 1 year deal. Emmanuel Mosley, 1 year deal. Outside of Cam Sutton, it was a 3-year deal. Jeff Okudah, 1 year deal. Jerry Jacobs has 1 year left on his deal. Mac McCain, 1 year deal. Pretty much everybody has 1 year left. So the Lions are sitting back and say, hey, man, this is just too good to pass up. He's sitting there. He wants an opportunity to go on that long-term extension. And while we may not want to give that out to him now, and it may not be the biggest need for us based on some of the moves that we have already made, our secondary is going to be completely competition. Everybody's got basically 1 year on their deal. Nobody's locked in long-term here. So you are all going to have to compete for spots. And he's just thrown into the mix now. Whatever role he wants to play, because he can play a lot of roles. Slot, safety. I can't wait to break this player down, man. I love me some Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And it's like, hey, you're all going to compete for playing time now. And hey, you're all going to earn that extension, whether that's here or elsewhere after the season. It basically falls into what the Lions have always done over the past 2 years in free agency, is give out those prove-it deals. And this feels like one of those situations where it's like, it's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's not getting that offer out there, right? This wasn't something that happened immediately by the Lions. So I think the Lions were sitting back saying, if no one's going to give it to him, we'll give it to him. Just bring the dude over here. We'll take the talent. We'll let him compete. He can earn a role here, because not a lot of these guys have deals that are multiple years, right? And some of these guys have very flexible deals that you can get out of this season. And this feels like that for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't think he's going to get cut. Chauncey's going to play. To me, Chauncey's going to find the field, and we'll do a breakdown on it. But the point is, that's what I get from the Lions' perspective. I think from Chauncey's perspective, it's like, hey, I know these coaches, all right? Maybe he likes Aaron Glenn and how they coach, and he's like, look, I want to go prove myself, get that deal. They're going to give me the opportunity in the secondary that definitely has added a lot of new pieces, but was not a strength of the team by any means for the Lions last season. They're really trying to clearly improve that. So let me take a shot with them, go out there and prove myself, then earn my long-term deal, whether that's here or elsewhere. Like, this is exactly how I kind of view this, where it's like, maybe this wasn't like Lions are going to fill like a big need, but it was like, how can we pass up on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson sitting there? Now, I am going to be curious on the financial standpoint, is if something soon happens after where a guy gets cut. We always talk about Romeo and Big V. Something kind of financially happens, because again, I didn't have the have the details of the Mosley deal and the Glasgow deal. So I think they're going to have to backload some of those a little bit, and they may have to throw a void year on this kind of deal for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But if they can fit it into the cap, hey, why not? I mean, seriously, like, this is too good. This guy's available and he's willing to take a 1 year deal. We'll try it. We'll take you in, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And then you just look at his statistics. So this past season, again, he was playing a lot more safety. 33 receptions on 42 targets, according to PFF. He earned a 64.2 grade in coverage, 66.1 in pass rush. That is one thing that we talk about Chauncey when we talk about the slot, is that Chauncey, who was brought up and he was compared with Jerry Jacobs when Aaron Glenn compared the two, because Chauncey's that big physical slot corner. He's definitely different than Cam Sutton. He's a guy that will press you out the line, be physical, be a very good blitzer from the slot position. He's just He's a monster. He's got a really nice build, a long frame, 200 plus pounds, 5'11", runs a sub 4.5 40, has a 1.4, what was it? He put a 1.48 10-yard split, so he's got that short yard explosiveness. And then again, you can put him at safety, and it's like he can do that too. So now for the Lions, you can almost count him as two positions. Be like, hey, he's a corner / safety. So he can take up two positions for us wherever we have to put him. If there's injuries, we can put him at safety. If we want to play him in the slot, we can start him at slot, and we'll move Cam Sutton around. But to me, what it's going to be is ultimate competition and tons of versatility within his game, but he's going to find an opportunity to prove himself this year, because there's a lot of positions that can be won. Now, I think our safeties for the future with Tracy and Kirby are there. I don't think either of those two guys are not going to play, but there's flexibility within his game, so you can move him everywhere. And we saw that again. This when he was with the Saints, he played a lot more in the slot. That's what he was. And Aaron Glenn even said it. This guy has to be able to cover because he's going to get really tough matchups there. He can match tight ends, do all of those things. But then with the Philly, he moved to safety, and he's like, I'm a playmaker. I'm getting 6 picks here. So a big physical safety or corner, whatever you want to call him, that's had some injuries, but he's a playmaker, an opportunity to prove himself with a guy that he's comfortable with. Count me in. And I think he gives us a little bit of that element that Cam Sutton doesn't, in the fact that he's just a big, rocked up physical slot that can blitz the heck out of you, man. He brings that, and he fits that nasty attitude that you want to have in the back end. So, and that extreme confidence. Like, he's there to prove himself. Guys that are there to prove himself, some of them have worked, some of them haven't. But if it does, like Mosley, oh goodness, dude, woo! So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a Lion. And in the past, he's had a lot of special team experience. And when he's done special teams, he's been very good at it. So I don't know if he'll do that here. He may be trying to prove everything with us. Point being, though, I think he wants that long-term deal. Market wasn't like it was. He wasn't going to force it. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go prove myself with guys that I know. And also in a position group that has this lane free agency. Still a lot of spots that can be earned. Everything seems like they're for grab. I'm going to show you what I can do. So I'm excited for the breakdown coming at some point, but I had to kind of break down my thoughts on this. Also, quick little thing to throw in here. Number one, it's great to make connections and to have guys like you, because this is part of that, I believe, as well, going to a place where he's familiar with the coaches, and clearly he probably likes the coaching staff to say, I'll take my prove-it opportunity here. Also, on top of this, I think this is what 9-8 does for you. This is what beating Green Bay in a primetime game when they have everything to play for and you have nothing to play for does. When free agents around the league are sitting back and saying, oh, goodness, the Lions are a threat. Like, they're 9-8. You think if we won 3 games this year, he would have the same level of interest and willingness to take this deal? I don't know about that. But you win 9 games? You want to talk about how do you get an extension? Winning teams, players get contracts. You're coming off a 9-8 season. So not only is there a connection, there's familiarity, there's opportunity, but also at the same time you're saying this team's also going to get a lot of attention because they just won some football games. I'll take that team, please. And I believe this, personally, right now, has a huge impact on this signing. Also, the Detroit Lions reportedly are signing Jake McQuaid, a long snapper. He's 35 years old. He's actually from Cincinnati, Ohio, interestingly enough. He's been in the league for a while, but he came into the league with the LA Rams when Brad Holmes was there, so there's that connection. Reportedly, the Detroit Lions worked him out. They liked him. They signed him. Now, we do have a long snapper in Scott Daly this past season, and he was brought back. They tendered his exclusive rights free agent deal, meaning that if he makes the team, great. If not, they need to cut him. He has no guarantees on his contract, so he was just brought back. So if he doesn't make it, you could just cut him and go with, Jake McQuaid. But if anything, it's competition. I know this is a spot that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I'm not going to probably break down the long snapper spot, right? But the point is it is competition. It's someone that he knows. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's been pretty consistent in terms of finding the field, being out there every single game for the most part, except for this past year where he had IR with the Dallas Cowboys. So now we're looking at a situation where Jake McQuaid is now a free agent, and he has been signed by the Lions after doing a little bit of a workout. Talk about ending competition. This isn't your normal 1-year deal of a guy that's like, he hasn't really played, but he's got something. This is like, oh no, he's played, and he's played at a super high level. This falls to me right in the Emmanuel Mosley category. When we did that 1-year deal, I said this one just feels like a 1-year deal, but it's just at a higher level because it's like, it's not just a projection. We've seen him start and play well. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is exactly that, and we've seen that in multiple positions. He's got something to prove. Like, these are 1-year deals with a little oomph added to it. Like, hey, it's a 1-year deal, but this guy can ball. We've already seen that. I'm just saying, man. Hey, like DJ Chark had a really nice season a couple years ago, but they didn't really play a lot coming off an injury. He was a really nice 1-year deal for us. And with Lions are bringing him back, I think a big part of that, he didn't play a ton of games, statistically speaking. He didn't have huge stats, even though he's really big for us. But it wouldn't have probably fell into the Lions, what they've done so far of re-signing a guy like that. And I can understand it. I do. I was cool with bringing him back. I was like, I'd still do. I'd take the shot on him. But still, he didn't, play 16 games and have 900 yards. And it's like, you got to resign that guy. He didn't do that. So I understand it. But now these 1-year deals, these are on another level. That's what the flexibility for agency gives you. And with the Lions backloading a lot of these deals, you got opportunity to make moves like this. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see if someone gets released. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a Lion.